The night was dark. The cat slipped easily about the blackness in pursuit of phantom prey. As I moved back and forth between the house and garage, the air hung heavy with conspiracy. In quiet anticipation, the cat stilled to a whisper. Then I felt it over my left shoulder, drawing closer. I stood transfixed as a silver light spilled over my neighbor's roofline to the east and watched my own shadow magically appear before me. Setting down my chores, I wandered through the lunar light in the backyard, smelling flowers and dancing with my shadow. They found me later, watching the rising moon weave through the branches of an evergreen. I'd been moonstruck. There are times when the moon calls to me. In the deep of the night, I'll wake to its glow, slipping between the slats of the blinds, and watch the cats, handmaidens of the moon, sit upright in bed and stare at the window. And so I'll find myself moonstruck again, my robe wrapped tightly against the chill of an overcast sky, mesmerized by the silver illumination filtering through the clouds. Against this argent glow, the twisted majesty of an oak tree in winter was framed, its branches an effortless design, art from the process of life. My lunacy sated once more. I go inside, slip some mugwort under my pillow, and dream of trees. We are led by the sun and chase our destinies as they set into the western sky. The sun makes life possible. It warms us, causes the plants to grow and the air to stir. But we are ruled by the moon, our emotional tides pulled in its wake along with the sea. The moon holds our wants, capturing in its cool gray face our dreams and desires forever out of reach. It evokes the impossible yearning we feel when we gaze across the ocean, look to the infinite sky, or fall in love. It whispers to us, let go. In its turn of phases, the moon marks the cycles of our lives. As the gibbous moon wands, it peels off a slice of itself each night until it is a shadow without stars suspended against the cosmos, the old moon cradled in the new moon's arms, visible only by light reflected back from Earth. As a waxing moon, it rises with the sun, lost in the brightness of an azure sky until it swells into Diana's crescent moon. But whatever the phase, the moon is always there. The tides still pull, its enigmatic presence reminding us that there is only change, birth, death, and rebirth. The magic of the moon goes beyond lunar rhythms, for it is timeless. We have been ensnared by the goddess of the moon in all her forms, Ishel, Selene, Artemis, Diana. She holds her unfailing mirror to our souls for us to contemplate the beauty and the terror of the reflection that we see. Standing over the forever sleeping, the forever young poet Indiaman, she mourns his soul's unlived dreams, urging us always to yearn for more, to look to our reflection in the sky and ask why. Have you ever heard the moonlight? It's the arpeggio of a harp, the swoop of a cello as it dives to a low note, a flute as it traces a scale through a minor key. One can never hide from moonlight. It is always serenading you. Listen to the shimmering sounds as moon sings to water. Moonlight on water is sublime, twice reflected light, ephemeral and full of grace. The moon and water conduct a love song for the ages, the merging of two realms, a chord made of light. Gaze upon the moonlit rays as they emanate from the lunar face, pale, silvery, and pure. Elusive is this light, refined and filtered, diffuse and indirect, gentle and inviting. It leaves no sensation on our skin. this rare light without heat. It slips between tight spaces, penetrating like water, descending always to the lowest level. We could never look at the sun this way. It would damage our sight. Absorbing and understanding, the moon accepts our gaze, just as it does the sun's rays. Moonlight is sunlight, reflected, filtered, and refined by the moon. Its light leaves no clear edges, no definition. Moonlight is a mystery. Bathe yourself in its argent glow on a moonlit night. Supplicate yourself and draw down the moon. Sense the light spiraling your crown chakra opening and flooding your third eye with a pearlescent glow. Feel the saline vibrations expand the throat chakra into a cosmic conduit. Allow the silvery gleam to cool the fevered heart chakra so that it opens like a lotus flower blooming. Allow the glow to descend like water through the sacral plexus, softening the shield. Feel it exit through the root chakra, pooling at your feet, cleansing you as above, as so below. Fill me with your healing rays, O moon above. Fill me with your healing rays, O moon above. Channeling moon energy, channeling moon energy. Her lunar face radiates wisdom, pocked by asteroids and space debris in the turbulent early epochs of our solar system creation. She is cooling still billions of years later from the molten mass out of which she formed. Epic lava flows pooled into the large gray splotches that dominate her guise. But she is not gray. Were you standing on the lunar surface, iron oxides grace much of the moon with a rosy hue. There are highlights of titanium blue. Her lunar highlands, ancient wrinkles formed from the cooling magma, boast rocky tan and reddish hues. She is overlaid with a light layer of regolith, of finely etched silicate dust that shimmers like silver. The moon has no atmosphere, not even enough atoms to hold sound. She is utterly silent. She has no wind, no water, so nothing changes. She is timeless. She is as she was when mankind first laid eyes on her, eons ago. Yet the moon is time, the pulse of our lives, the rhythm that drives all life on earth. Feel the beat every 28 days as she completes her lunar cycle, to be born at the new moon, to experience totality at the full, and to fade away until out of the cosmic darkness, the moon is born anew. Her brisk lunar pattern syncopates 13 times a year against the big 4/4 beat of the sun's languid seasons. Her massive size stabilizes the planet's axial tilt, ensuring that the seasonal pulse continues. This is real time, time immortal, infinitely more resilient than any digital endeavor. It will persist long after we are gone. We exist in a great inhaling and exhaling of lunar luminance. We all breathe together, taking deep belly breaths into the full moon. Then we exhale until the new moon, the pause at the bottom of the breath, the moment of wu wei, pure potential. From this lunar rhythm arise the tides eternal. In the planet's primal origin, salty fluids covering the world were still and dark and deep. The earth turned itself out with volcanic activity bursting from a hot, rocky core. Protocontinents of magma pushed through this primordial Genesis sea. The moon watched all of this. As our planetary duo raced around the sun, after millions of years, the Earth calmed the mad, dizzy spinning on its axis, and the moon lazily looped the Earth rather than zooming around it. As the orbital and axial rhythms began to harmonize, the two celestial bodies fell in synchrony with each other. Now the moon coyly pirouettes around the Earth, rotating only once on its axis every orbit, so that her face remains forever turned toward us. From this synchrony, a barycenter arose, a shared focus of gravity around which they both orbit. Their powerful center is not a thing at all, but an idea thousands of miles into the Earth's mantle. They swing around each other in the solar system's most passionate tango. The moon is no mere satellite of a larger celestial body. She is immense as moon goes, 1/4 our size. Nothing in the universe has yet to be seen like this. She and the Earth are a two-planet system. But for this love affair, she gives up a piece of herself, drifting away from the Earth over an inch each year. So tight is this tango that gravity creates a bulge on the Earth's crust near the moon, and the centrifugal force of the axial spin forms another on the opposite side of the moon. The surface of the Earth swells and settles over and over again. Earth tides. The rising crust is what sets the ocean in motion, pushing the water, causing tides twice a day, which cause the currents to flow, and sea creatures from cellular krill to giant marine mammals to mix and interact. Most of the planet is water. Without the moon, the seas would be inert and mostly devoid of life. Every 14 days, the new or the full moon lines up with the sun and the earth, everything in a row. Huge gravitational pull. The tides become even higher. And powered by this gravitational precision, the sun rips molecules off the earth and flings them onto the moon's surface like atomic celestial kisses. In our primal cellular beginnings, billions of years ago, synchrony and the tides mixed the Earth's silent waters, pulling nutrient-rich silt up from the ocean floor, which one-celled organisms, some mere chains of amino acids, avidly consumed. Stirred into motions, the cells bumped into each other and do what engorged organisms do, make more of each other. The rocking tidal motion slooped this cellular soup onto the shores of the protocontinents as they emerged from the magma mire. There, captured in warm, sunlit tidal pools, life grew. And some life forms eventually grew big enough and wriggled out onto the land. And here we are, made by the moon. Lunar lady, silver sublime, our inspiration in the time. You hold for all the cycles of time. Luna, I pledge myself to you. I have always loved the moon. As a toddler, I stared out the window at the lunar glow, pooling in the folds of the large elephant ear leaves and cascading down into the grasses where light went to hide. Moonlight trickled through the tree leaves, bouncing from one bough to another like liquid light. I yearned for the moon. So young, I was just barely big enough to reach the doorknob. One successful turn, and I escaped out into the backyard to be with my beloved Moonlight, a world away from the chaos inside the house. I rested suspended in her silvery web and listened to Moonlight. The beautiful moon is my friend, my companion that I share with the world. When I gaze at her opaline face, I know millions of others are too. We all see ourselves reflected in her, and she reflects us all together. We project our dreams and our fervor onto her model surface, and it serves as a mirror for us to understand ourselves. But she is more than a night consort. As a waxing moon, from new to full, she is our daytime companion. She rises at dawn and then sets 50 minutes later every day. So the waxing moon is felt more than seen. Yet she is there, teaching us to have faith and persist. At the full moon, she rises as the sun sets and graces the night sky as she wands. Make time for the moon. Learn her lunar ways. Live with her lunar phases. Allow her to open you up and bring you peace. As Oscar Wilde said, with freedom, books, flowers, and the moon, who could not be happy? We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up to a new sensation, to the luminous love light of the moon. Happy to talk loony things. Do you feel the phases? Do you find meditating easier in the third and fourth quarters? Have you ever tracked this? For a lot of people, meditating is much easier in the third and fourth quarters. Certainly if you're starting off, it's easier. The first 2 quarters of the moon, as she grows, as she waxes, these are very outward times, very socializing, very projecting. The plants are very active. They're growing up. They're feeling pulled by the moon. Everything is going up. It's a great time to throw a party. It's definitely your party time. Then, as the moon reaches full, it is an invitation to hear the beckoning. It is a moment of completion before another phase starts again. And then as she goes inward, in that third and fourth quarter, when she basically disappears from the skies, and unless you're up after midnight, you will not see her. And so that is an easy time to go inward. It's an easy time to go within. And it is an easy time to let go, particularly in that final fourth quarter. You can let go of habits, persistences, patterns, blockages, and you can let go of, if you need to, your ties to life. More people pass away in the fourth quarter than any other time. It's also a good time to weed your yard. things let go. Um, so consider feeling those phases. A good spiritual practice is to track the moon for at least one cycle. You know, in the new moon, you're not going to see her at all. She's totally consumed within the solar corona. Only time you see the new moon is on a solar eclipse. And when the sun is blacked out, it is the new moon that you see. So it's a fun thing for me to go out somewhere, and because she's following the sun, she is going to kind of emerge at sunset. And I never see sunrise, so I assume it's the same. But at sunset, she is going to, on the second and third day of after the peak of the new moon, which lasts 3 days, she will be a little tiny silver sliver of a moon in the western sky. And you really won't even see her until the sun's below the horizon, and she'll pop out. And then watch her every night as she rises later, as she grows a little bit. Right now, she's alone. In a few months, Venus will be with her. And then watch her grow, and watch her continue to grow. And then notice how at the quarter moon, she's going to be right overhead when you wake up. She's going to be right overhead. And it's fun to try to find her in that first quarter to see if you can parse her out of all the sunlight. And then from the second quarter to the full moon, this is a great time to be out walking in the moonlight. It's really brighter than you might think. And it is great to watch her as she starts to appear later and lower. And then when the full moon happens, she rises as the sun sets. And so it's this balance of these two things, the silver and the gold. And actually the sun is white, but that's another day. So to feel this balance. And then again, she rises later and later and later until she rises in the early AM hours. So try tracking her sometime and see if you can figure out, that she rises at dawn, at the new moon. She rises at noon at the second quarter moon. She rises at sunset on the full moon. She rises at midnight on the fourth quarter. And if you learn those times, you will always know where she is in the sky. So can I answer any questions?
What quarter are we in now?
Pardon?
What quarter are we in now?
Oh, and I should know that, shouldn't I? We are waxing. We are going towards full. I would say we're about at second quarter. Yeah, I believe. You've caught me. Yes. And there's great things that you can put on your iCal that will let you know exactly what the moon. And I'm afraid I have gotten very lazy, and I tend to depend on that to tell me what phase that we're in. Of course, I have my classic lunar calendar that I look at in the morning and then promptly forget by the end of the day. Okay.
Can you feel it? Like, can you feel the different phases, or do you, because you asked us if we track our ability to meditate at the different phases. Do you notice that?
I do. And I do feel active in the first and second quarters. I do feel more spiritual at the full moons. Um, I feel that light is really something. I like to sit outside in the full moon or in the days leading up to the full moon, um, particularly the second and third day before the full moon peaks. And I will help myself connect with it by holding selenite, which is a mineral which is associated with the moon, and you can often buy it pretty cheap in places. It kind of comes in sticks. And I like to be with silver. I like to put a silver bowl of water out and use that as a meditative focus point. Um, I do a lot of moon walking. I lead a lot of moon walks. Um, and I try to get people um, comfortable with the darkness. We have fallen into a terrible pattern, particularly in this country, of light equals good, dark equals bad. And this has terrible ramifications for people of color. It has terrible ramifications for women because with the light equal good, dark equal bad, well, you can guess who gets the dark equals bad, and that's women. And perhaps it's because within us is an empty dark space. We have a womb, and it is darkness. But we are born of darkness. We spend our first 9 months in darkness. And you can bet that when you were in the womb, you were feeling that moon. You know, it's getting tugged along with the oceans. Um, and we spend 8 hours every day in darkness. And so I like to take people out on moonwalks and make them comfortable. I try to not allow flashlights because if you spend some time in darkness, particularly in gentle moonlight, you will find you can see much more than you might think. After 10 minutes, you will see a lot. You will see a lot. Um, I like to feel that the natural world is really responding to the moon. And certainly sea creatures spawn at full moons. Dragonflies tend to emerge at full moons. Um, a lot of creatures base their activities around the moon's phases. And in fact, during the full moons, they tend to hide, a little too visible, you know. Um, and the other night, I was out in my backyard um, doing my moon thing with the full moon, and I got to wondering about what plants think about moonlight. I never thought about it before, and they do not photosynthesis with moonlight. And so it is a time for plants to be in the light without working. And I just had this sense around me that plants were kind of digging on it, you know, that they were enjoying the light without having to work, you know, it was playtime for them. And and there are some plants that you will see them kind of belly up to the moon, you know. Look for plants that have silver undersides, and you might find them like a dog, you know, offering up. Give me some rubbing, give me some light rubbing. Um, and I always spend some time each phase in the full moon. And during the new moons, when I'm out and about, I try to hike on new moons. Because nobody thinks about new moons, you know? It's the underdog. But it's the most powerful moon. It initiates, it kicks off. You want to plant a seed? You want to start a habit? You want to get your garden going? No, it's the new moon for you. Um, so I like hiking under the new moon because it is, you're just feeling sunlight, but the moon is there and it's pulling the tides just as strong as it does at full. And so I like that feeling of kind of, I'm out here doing my moon thing, and y'all can't tell, can you? You know, I'm sneaking it in here. But I like the feeling. It is a very, if you tap into it, it's a very energizing feeling. And, you know, you're there at the new moon, you're awake, and you know, underneath you, the earth is going, you know, bulging out, and we can't tell. And so we're in this epic force that is completely unobvious to us unless we make a point to tap into that. And so I like being out in the new moon because um, everything is alive and lively, and I really feel that they're they're feeling it too. Certainly the plants are feeling the new moon, big time. So it's there's so many ways to tap into it. I often do my own private little tea ceremony with elderflower tea on full moons, to just sit out there, and I generally do walking meditation, but sometimes I'll sit, and the raccoons are running around me, but I try to center. They're very curious about it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Amy. My name is Ebony. I really appreciated your talk.
Thank you.
I noticed one that you call her her, and that you also listed off a bunch of goddesses that are attributed to the
Mm-hmm.
moon. And I'm kind of curious. This might not be something you know. If you know of any cultures where there's masculine archetypes attributed to the moon.
Yeah, it does. The further to the Far East you go, it tends to pick up a male aspect. And there are not many, but there are a few. And they are usually associated with rain. And so sometimes rain gods are associated with the moon. And generally, the bringer of the rain, for some reason, in many cultures, is seen as male. Um, and in the Japanese Shinto culture, the sun is female, and the moon is a male there. And I just love the idea that Amaterasu is the supreme, and Susanoo, her brother, terribly misbehaving brother, he is more associated with the oceans, the rain, and the moon. Yeah. And she's a she. Make no mistake about it. Yeah, no. Yeah, she's a she. Because her and the earth have a thing. They have a thing, you know. Um, yeah, she's she's a she. But however you feel her, she could be beyond gender, I'm sure. Yeah. But she came from the earth. She was formed from this is the reigning theory. She was formed from a large asteroid that hit the still forming earth, and boom, flung her off the earth, and then she began to form. And I've always wondered if that's kind of where the rib thing came from Christianity. You never know.
Jake Milligan. I've got a question about your moonwalks. I know that around here, one thing that we point out a lot and we talk about is how we can't really see the full sky because we have so much light pollution.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, does that affect the moonlight on walks? Like when you go go on moonwalks around here, like, do you not get the full experience because being close to the cities and stuff like that?
It is a challenge. It's a real challenge. Um, Oftentimes, like when I do moonwalks at 12 Hills, um, it starts out pretty bright, and then we don't really get the moon feeling until we kind of go down the slope, and the moon, the surrounding lights disappear under the slope. Um, I do a walk at Elm Fork Preserve. I've got one coming up in November, and the way that the preserve faces, the first part of it is really dark, and it's going along an old channel of the Elm Fork, and you're totally faced away, and you get to this pond, and the moonlight is on this pond, and then you take a turn, and it's like sports fields. No, turn it off. And so we're trying to work out for our next moonwalk that they can maybe turn that off for our moonwalk, because it was real disturbing. But there is nothing quite like getting out in an area without that. Cedar Hill State Park offers full moon walks, very dark. Lake Louisville Environmental Learning Area also offers occasional full moon walks. Exceptionally dark, exceptionally wild. Um, Lots of noise out there on that walk. Another good place to do moonwalks is Fort Worth Nature Center. Again, you can get deep into it, and they take care to turn the lights off. Um, and then if you really, really, really want that experience, go west. You really get the moon sensation. I try every few years to rent someplace out in Glenrose and really take in that moon. Um, and you can even go to Monahan Sandhills, and they offer full moon walks. And if you've ever done a full moon walk where it's 100% gypsum, it is incredibly bright. Some people wear sunglasses, but it's pure gypsum, so everything is vibrating at the same harmonic. It's just one mineral, so it is, and so it's very interesting to meditate to, because you tune into that vibration and you're synced in. An interesting thing to note is that in the summer, the moon rises and sets very low. That's because the sun is rising and setting very high. But in the winter, this reverses. And so the sun is rising and setting very low, like at winter solstice, and the moon is way high in the sky. And so it's so bright, it's 13% brighter in the winter, that helps override the, the artificial lights. And I'm particularly sensitive to this because I have a neighbor who has slipped into paranoia. She lights her house up like a prison. And I used to be able to go out in my front yard and enjoy my moon, and I can't anymore. And she won't change, no matter what I tell her. It's such a bummer. But in the winter, the leaves go away, and so you get so much more moon. And we're lucky we're in the South that we won't freeze our butts off to enjoy a full moon in the winter most of the time. So, in fact, it's the Native Americans called it Grandmother Moon because it was so bright and so so beneficial. They could move around at night easy and avoid all the people that wanted to shoot them. I could talk forever about the moon, so make me stop, please.
Avanzaongen.
I'm utterly obsessed with it.
In Mexico, there's this folk figure called Santa Muerte. Have you heard of
The Flying Lady?
the skeleton lady?
Oh, no, that's a new one to me.
Okay, because she's identified with the moon, and I wanted to know if you
Yeah.
had heard of it.
Um, in Mesoamerica, I am totally and completely tied to Isha,
Okay.
and she is the Mayan moon goddess, and she is also the goddess of the ocean, and she is very much tied to Yamanya, who is the Caribbean goddess of the ocean as well. The Nawa or the Mexica, they were not all that moon friendly. Um, but they did have a moon goddess, and her name was Koyoshauki. And Koyoshauki, in the Nawa Mexica, in the Mexica tradition, the Nawa came first, and the Mexica kind of took them over. And she she was born from Kotlikwe, and when she her brother basically when he came out of the womb, fully grown, fully armed, which must have hurt, um, he killed her, and he cut off her head, cut off her arms and legs, and tossed her down the side of a mountain. And this was commemorated in a huge uh, carved stone disc, about 10 feet across, the act of her dismemberment. And all of the sacrifices at the great temple in Tenochtitlan were ended up rolling over her as they fell down the sides of the pyramid. So a couple hundred years later, they're digging a pipeline in Mexico City, and they hit stone. Well, you can't hit stone in Mexico City. It's filled in swamp. Shouldn't have any stone. So they stopped, and they dug it out, and they realized that it was the medallion had survived when nothing else had survived of the Mexica culture had been destroyed by the Spanish, but she survived. They did not destroy her for whatever reason. And so Coyoshauqui is the centerpiece of the Templo Mayor Museum in the middle of the southern part of Mexico City. So Coyoshauqui is the moon goddess that I'm familiar with outside of Maya. And she is, let's just say, a lot of people, particularly women, and particularly abused women in Mexico, found that to be an incredible metaphor of the moon's persistence and her persistence and their persistence. They really grabbed onto that, and it's very dramatic. They meet in front of her every November and honor her on a full moon, of course. Yes.
Sean Bagan. I go on deep dives on the internet for stuff, and I feel like I looked this up in the past, but I can't remember in terms of the moon and what it does to our bodies, and especially female bodies, obviously, and if that is something that the moon is actively doing, or if it's something that was set in us like genetically from when the moon was formed or something, just in terms of like female cycle being on a monthly or on a moon schedule sort of thing. Is that
no one really knows, except it is definitely true that women menstrual cycles are the same length as the moon's. And if you get enough women together in the same building complex, they will go into synchrony, and they will all menstruate on the same cycle. So the synchrony is a driving force of the planet, and it's very much associated with females and the moon. I have a little trouble with AFib in my heart, and the AFib community is now starting to track how moon cycles affect incidences of AFib, which I find very fascinating that they're doing that I suspect if we looked in it more, we would find more connections. I suspect that our vascular systems are very associated with moon, sensitive to moon, that it could be that our vascular systems work better around the new and the full moons. I don't know. No one's really tracked this female stuff. But actually, there is I love the Germans. They're very moon obsessed. They're very moon obsessed. And so the German government actually conducted studies of the moon's effect on our bodies, on our plants and stuff. And they kind of codified a lot of what had been lunar gardening folklore wisdom. And one of the things that they did find is the growing patterns of our hair is very much associated with the moon. And that if you cut your hair at the new moon, boing, it's going to grow right back. If you cut it at the full moon or in the third and fourth quarters, your hair will not grow back as much. And to the Germans, this was like, well, to be efficient, you should not cut your beard in the first quarter because you're wasting energy because it's just going to grow back. And I just love that. And the book is called Moon Time, and it's by the popes, Thomas and his wife, Thomas Pope and his wife. And it is so detailed it'll make your head hurt. But a lot of that information is in that book. Very, very dry book, but full of all that kind of statistical correlations. Really neat stuff. Yeah.
Can you say more about the ideal time for weeding and kind of how and why that is?
What's a good time for weeding?
Yeah, pulling weeds.
Well, generally, if you, and this is also from the German book, that if you want to plant a seed, you plant on the new moon or the full moon. And the new moon being a little better for it than so little seeds you plant at the new moon. Larger seeds you plant at the full moon because that gives them time to soften and go deeper into the dirt. So like I buy all my herbs and spend much too much money at Mountain Rose Herbs out of Oregon. And they do all their harvesting on a lunar cycle. And their harvest time for leaves is the end of the second quarter. They feel that plants are the most flush with fluids in that end of the second quarter. Then when they want to harvest seeds, they're going to be looking at the full moon and the very beginning of the third quarter. They feel like that is, in the very beginning of the third quarter. So that's when seeds are most consolidated. And then you start looking at roots. And so root harvesting is done almost exclusively in the third quarter because that's when the soil is most charged with lunar, the least, it's the most charged with lunar energy is in the third quarter. And then that's when you want to transplant. That's when you want to put things in the ground, plant things. And then as you start moving into the fourth quarter, all of that lunar energy kind of starts to dissipate and the roots get a little weaker. So if you want to weed your yard, you do it in the fourth quarter. And if you want to kill privet, yes! You do that in the fourth quarter and you will have more success because the roots aren't quite as tight in the ground, and so you can yank those suckers right out of the ground. And if you want to apply something to kill roots, you would do that in the third and fourth quarter, third quarter going towards fourth. Yeah, so it's this breathing cycle that plants are. We live on a plant-et. We mammals are just hitchhikers here. Plants are pretty much calling all the shots. So we just flow along. Yes, sir.